We are transitioning. We're moving. Since All Saints, we've been hearing about the end of time. That's getting more urgent now as we get closer to Christmas. Our gospel text isn't Jesus talking about when all things are made right, like we've been hearing. Jesus isn't even in today's gospel passage. We're getting at a hinge from the apocalyptic to the immediate, from when the Son of Man comes in glory to the reign of God is at hand now. Luke grounds the arrival of this messenger, John, in a real place, in a real time, ruled and governed by real people. At the same time, though, he makes reference to Isaiah. John, the son of Zechariah, goes into the desert proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. John is the voice in the wilderness crying out that things are about to change and that they will change. Prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. And the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. When Isaiah writes that, he's talking about God's messengers who will make an easy path for captured Israelites to flee back to their homelands. Their salvation will be through the wilderness, as the reading from Baruch makes even clearer. Luke today, in referencing Isaiah, though, makes this, or rather, is stepping it up. The preparation for salvation is coming from the wilderness. It's not a path through the wilderness. As John preaches repentance and salvation for all of creation, all flesh shall see the salvation of God. As the captive Israelites waited for their salvation, and the first readers of Luke heard and learned this story over and over, and the church waits for all to be made right, it's hard to wait. Finney has started to say, "It's Christmas time." I make no effort to dampen his excitement, but do gently say, "It's almost Christmas. Right now is Advent. We're waiting." Followers of Jesus aren't the only ones waiting, and the news this week shows just how much the world longs for God's justice and God's judgment, even if that's not how everyone might frame it. Martial law declared in South Korea, and then protests and votes to overturn it. The collapse of the government in France, the end of the Assad regime in Syria, and perhaps his death. A health insurance CEO murdered, with deny, defend, and depose written on shell casings. As NBC reports, United Healthcare, a subdivision of United Health Group, is the largest private health insurance payer in the U.S. and has been the subject of heated controversy over its relatively high rate of denial of patient care claims. As the church waits in our story for Jesus' return at the end of time and for his birth, the whole creation groans in labor, waiting for all things to be made well. The peoples of the earth can tell something isn't right. The powers of sin and death run rampant through the world, and people are crying out for God's justice, which includes God's judgment. It's hard to wait. But we know that sin and death have been defeated in Jesus' resurrection, and we wait for that death to be fulfilled when all is made right. We wait for all things to be made well, and we wait for God's judgment, for God to say, this wasn't right, and there will be consequences. Evil doesn't get to go unchecked for all of eternity. We can be squeamish and squirmish about God's judgment because many of us have been the targets of other Christians saying that we'll be first in line. John, preaching a baptism for the forgiveness of sins, assures us that sin is real and that it can be forgiven. As we await Jesus' return, we look for the day when the valleys are raised and the hills and mountains are made plain, and the salvation of God through Jesus dawns on all flesh. Neither Luke nor Isaiah is talking about just topography here. In their song, It's Hard to Wait, a group called Rain for Roots sets these few words to music and ends that setting with pleas and assurances of comfort. They sing these words from Isaiah that Luke echoes in the context of the difficulty of waiting for someone to write you a letter back, or waiting for the first sprouts to break soil after seeds have been planted. Hearing that this week as they sing, "Every valley is gonna be raised," has made me think about illustrations about the differences between equality, equity, and justice that go around my corners of the internet periodically. These illustrations started with 3 people, different heights, each given a box to look over a fence into a baseball game. They each got 1 box. That frame is labeled equality. But the shortest person, child size, still couldn't see. So the next frame, the 3 boxes, still 3 boxes, are rearranged. The tallest person doesn't need a box to see, so the shortest gets 2 boxes. Later iterations of this drawing change the wood plank fence to chain link, so you can see through the fence. That's labeled justice. An even further addition I saw this week is someone taking wire cutters to the fence. This frame is called revolution. I might call it the eschaton because Jesus is going to be the one ripping up the fence. And outside of God, I'm not sure when that will happen. This is what Isaiah and Luke mean with valleys being raised and the mountains being laid plain. Jesus' incarnation and return bring justice for all. And it's hard to wait. We cry out asking how long we have to, and we look to the end of this liturgical season, to the end of Advent, knowing that it's not all for naught. One of the reasons I love Advent is that Jesus always gets born. 3-day potty training took 6 months to the day, but Jesus always gets born on December 25th. It's hard to wait, but we don't have to do it alone. We wait together and we wait with the saints who waited before us. We wait with the civil rights leaders who never expected to see the fulfillment of their dreams, but knew their work would matter for those in the future. Syria's longest-serving political prisoner, Ragid al-Tatari, was released yesterday after 43 years of political incarceration. That's a long time to wait, but the hills and the mountains will be laid plain. John's voice crying out in the wilderness wasn't an ignored voice. It was a voice saying that God's salvation was and is on its way. It's hard to wait, but we have comfort. Every valley will be raised. Amen.